Dave, talk us through, as somebody with experience in this, how does that kind of happen? Could it just be, bad information or somebody got confused? But to go from a murder suspect down to, evading or a traffic violation, obviously very different once when it comes to this. But just communication-wise, what's going on with officers and agencies when you start to see things get handed off from one agency to the next?
Well, it's like anything else, the old thing about you start off with one person, you tell them something, and by the time it gets to the ninth person, it's been changed or it's been reevaluated incorrectly. So that's what I'm assuming. Now, with that coming out before, I mean, if I was a black and white behind this suspect, I would definitely treat it as what it is. It's a felony suspect,
right?
And I would treat it as such. So that's where we're at right now. So I would just maintain, and we know how the chippies work. They'll stay behind this thing until it gets all its way into downtown LA.
Yeah, and that's certainly what we're keeping an eye on. And you bring that point up as I was just keeping an eye. We're in Studio City right now on the 101 going southbound. I mean, this started in Thousand Oaks. We've already passed a number of locations like Tarzana, Encino, Sherman Oaks, now into Studio City. So the next big moment or turning point here could be whether or not this suspect maintains their position on the 101 South and then going down toward downtown, as you pointed out, Dave, or whether they decide, okay, maybe go north on the 170 or maintain east on the 134. The other thing has been going on for enough time now where we haven't seen any attempt to, find an exit and get off and try to get into those surface roads where maybe they're more familiar with things and try to bail. The typical playbook we tend to see from suspects. Right now, this is sort of stretching into a territory where nothing has really broken in these last 15 minutes. They keep going, and CHP is directly behind them.
Yeah, we're starting to pick up some speed. He was hanging out, I shouldn't say the suspect was hanging out towards the right side, but ended up going over to the left. So we'll see where this takes us here. I'm not sure about the exit, Pasadena, Ventura, Studio City area is what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So they're going to stay with them. And we know how aggressive the chippies can be. They're putting a plan together. Now, they're already talking to their people way down the road towards LA, the Valley area. So they know that they're coming. They're discussing. There's a plan going on how they're going to attempt to stop this suspect.
Yeah. And Dave, it's interesting, as we've been talking, well, not necessarily this shot, but the last, 30, 45 seconds or so, we've seen quite a bit more cars on the freeway. This is, a Sunday afternoon. People are out and about going to Easter, celebrations, maybe seeing family. I mean, how dangerous is it when they start getting to those areas that get more congested and, you start having to see these swerving around and switching lanes and trying to continue to evade those officers?
One thing I've always mentioned, and this is just my own personal thing, because we've all been on the freeway where all of a sudden somebody passes. If we're doing 70, somebody passes by doing 85, 90 miles per hour. That's why I like what the chippies are doing. They're staying behind this suspect. They have the siren and lights going, basically warning people ahead if they can hear it of what's coming up. So that I do like.
Yeah.
So we're just going to see what's going to happen here. Every department has its own pursuit policy. LA, they pull back. Sheriffs, they have a different procedure. Everybody plays off their own rule book.
And it does look like they just took the split there toward Pasadena, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in terms of you can maintain this road and get, they're approaching Burbank and then into Glendale and into Pasadena. So there's many opportunities here as we maintain our view from SkyCal to either venture off into any other exit and get onto these surface streets where neighborhoods, as you pointed out, and there are people out and about at this time of night on a Sunday, just kind of enjoying their evening. So that heightens the danger as well. But Dave, I think you're right in terms of just what the sense of consistency is really what stood out so far in terms of this pursuit over the last 20 minutes is that they're just not breaking at all. And you have to imagine it helps to some degree because normally when we're breaking in with this, it's dark and it's at night. And when you're on the freeway and you have someone flying at 80 miles an hour and CHP or law enforcement directly behind, it can be a little bit more frightening to see those things whiz by. Whereas in the day, even if it's just a little bit, it'll help to at least notice something coming up on the rearview mirror.
Exactly. This suspect staying towards the inside lane, so indicating that they're going to just keep on traveling eastbound or southbound and possibly end up in Pasadena somewhere. So you got their office out there, meaning CHP. So they'll be joining the pursuit here pretty soon. Also, they'll do what we call a handoff.
And how critical is that, Dave, when you start talking about, it spanning so many different jurisdictions, to have that cohesive team and that cohesive plan between those different CHP agencies to be able to seamlessly get the right people in at the right time to still protect the public and, of course, also protect those officers?
Yeah, it works out fantastic, especially when you're working with your own agency. There was one CHP unit that just got on the freeway, so he's probably the local office. That officer will probably end up taking over the pursuit, and that's one of the beauties about CHP. They have the whole state to play around with. They're everywhere, so they'll go ahead and just to make it a simple handoff. Which and especially since they're all working off the same pursuit policy, they know exactly what they can do and what they cannot do. So once they get and I'm sure there's a supervisor involved in this, it's different with the CHP because with LAPD, the ranking officer and initiating pursuit, black and white, is the incident commander up and until a supervisor joins the pursuit. And now it's even a uniformed supervisor. Then they, at that time, announce that they're the incident commander. With CHP, it's different. Once the CHP says, hey, we got a supervisor en route, they are the incident commander. They can start calling the shots. And of course, you can always go back to the watch commander back at the office who's watching our broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a nice reminder of how, the worst case, or I should say, the case where this goes on and on and on is gas running out, right, Dave? You brought that up a million times before. Whereas you almost like a pit crew, you just have CHP and law enforcement ready to tap in and just keep this going as long as the suspect decides to keep it going. But right now, once again, I mean, we're now past into Glendale and keeping going toward the Pasadena route. And
has anybody seen traffic? We've seen no traffic.
No
this
real
never
traffic.
Happens to me when I'm on the freeway. I at least get stopped once or twice, but they've just had free reign, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I'm sure that's a lot what they're talking about. The traffic situation. They're being told if there's traffic way up ahead, if there's any, especially we know how the freeway is going eastbound on the 210 freeway through Pasadena. It's usually bogged down even on a regular day. But like we said, pretty light traffic today.
Crazy.
So that's probably one reason why they're continuing it.
I mean, wide open.
Yeah, completely wide open. I think that's the other thread of this entire situation is just how clear the roads are, and it might even play into not to speak too much into the mind of this driver, but it could play into the fact of it's better to just stay here and keep it going. But then we catch ourselves in a situation like we have been the last 25 minutes, which is nothing's changed, right? It's just maintaining, an incredibly lengthy drive, Dave, because if it started in Thousand Oaks and we're already getting toward Pasadena, that is not a short distance. That is just a very long stretch of road where the situation hasn't changed. And on top of that, we typically see, in a lot of times in these pursuits, is that when something maintains itself for that long, that's when a suspect starts getting a little jittery and then makes some dramatic change that then leads to officers getting that person into custody.
And hence why we're the pursuit kings of the nation. Actually, our freeways, they're wide open. Yeah. You can start in Thousand Oaks, and you can end up in Redlands and without leaving the freeway. Yeah. So you can just continue here. So I believe that this will probably go on a little bit longer. I'm believing it. We've seen the Chippies actually block the freeway. Yeah. So they could force the suspect over to one lane, and then they throw the spike strip out. So they have some, very unusual tactics that other departments don't use. Yeah. So I'm I'm kind of like waiting to see what's going to happen here. I mean, as far as I know right now, and I've heard, it's just kind of like just maintain what we have.
Because Dave, that was my question there. You know, we know that they do things a little differently because they do things the way they do things. But when it comes to a freeway that feels this secluded, at least at this shot, I mean, they feel like they feel they have the opportunity to, like you said, block lanes, force them down to one, and then do a spike strip if, you know, nobody else is around to be hurt. I know that they're always keeping public safety first, but it does appear that they, you know, could potentially have a little bit of leeway here to get creative with how they bring this to an end.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, thank you for bringing that up because, you know, the factors that were always considered with any police department, law enforcement agency is always public safety. You know, we think about, we incorporate the nature of the offense. Do we have a helicopter available? Is it a vehicle code? Is it this, like they had said, you know, is it crime against property or person? So they evaluate a lot of this stuff, and it's continuing on. And remember, with every division that takes this over, you got a different set of watch commanders that are watching this, or incident commanders. So one of them may say, okay, enough's enough. Let's get this thing stopped.
And what does that process look like in terms of, okay, let's say this traffic is so clear, we have an opportunity in the next X number of miles to block off the freeway and sort of force the suspect's hand to either stop or veer off and take an exit onto a surface street or a place where it's a little easier to maneuver. What does that process look like? Does it have to be a certain number of miles out? Does it have to be X agency with another one? I'm curious as to what that decision-making process looks like.
You know, usually the chippies, they like to maintain their own people involved because of the pursuit policy. And in fact, that goes pretty much with any agency, unless you really need help, and then you just put out a officer needs help, and all the agencies will come running. So things are being broadcast as far as the procedure and the location, direction of the suspect. So they'll maintain that, but as you can see, those two black and whites are right on them.
Yeah.
That suspect knows they're there, and the suspect is driving between the lines. Not that it's any safer,
Right.
but at least we don't have that to worry about. And as far as getting off the freeway, I know pursuits are bad on the street, anywhere you go, but at least here we don't have to worry about cross traffic, pedestrians crossing the street, especially today, kids out playing. So, I mean, I'm sure that has a large factor to go with them also.
On my way to work, saw so many Easter egg hunts in the front yards of so many homes. So that's such a good point to think that, you know, at least they're staying away from those neighborhoods and where people are walking. Now, Dave, my next question for you here, obviously we know more information about the want than maybe we did at the beginning of this pursuit. It's for evading. So when you have a situation where this isn't a stolen vehicle, you can, you know, make an educated guess that the CHP knows whose car that belongs to and may even know who's driving it. What kind of background right now are they doing while they, you know, have this guy on the freeway to try to figure out who knows him, who may be able to speak to him, some kind of negotiation maybe? It seems like we're having some trouble with our feed. We'll get back to that hopefully soon. But yeah, Dave, what happens there when you know the person, or you know the car at least, because this isn't stolen?
Yeah, if it's not stolen, they run the plate, of course. They can call up the RO, the registered owner, and see if this is them in the vehicle. If not, if they know who's driving the vehicle, and see exactly why there's this desperation not to stop, not to pull over. Is there some other factor involved? So, like we said, it all started with a traffic violation in Ventura, and now we're talking evading. So it's exactly what is going on with this suspect. You know, it's dangerous for law enforcement officers. You know, you're always hoping for the best. We all do.
Yeah,
but you're
certainly
prepared for. But you're also prepared for the worst. That's just part of police work.
Absolutely. And we do want to make a note there that we're back to our live footage from SkyCow right now. Our feed was having a little bit of an issue, so we were showing you video briefly from earlier when the pursuit was in Tarzana and zooming in and seeing that it looked to be a Subaru vehicle that was being pursued by CHP. Now we're back live with SkyCal overhead. I mean, we're on the 210 now. Well into Pasadena. So just highlighting what that video showed you earlier in Tarzana when this started all the way even further back to Thousand Oaks, and we're well past that and going for a very long stretch. I also want to point out that a few minutes ago, we also had a wonderful zoomed out shot as we do another one here, just to show you and highlight what's become more or less the parallel storyline to this pursuit is how clear traffic is. Now, we all know in Southern California, as Hunter's pointed out as well, that traffic it's never like this. You might get it on a rare occasion, like tonight on an Easter Sunday where everybody's at home or with family and they're at their destinations already. You don't really get it like this. So that might actually be playing significantly into the fact that this has stayed on the freeway for a long amount of time. I mean, well past the half-hour mark now of when we first broke in. So, you know, it's a dynamic that is consistent, if nothing else.
Well, and I think the word consistent is what we've been saying as we've watched them. What's standing out to you, if anything, Dave, about the behavior of this guy? I mean, just seems pretty consistent. I hate to say that again, but there's really no other way to describe it. He hasn't really done much since we've been tracking this at 550.
No, the speed has been basically 70 plus or minus, staying between the lines and just consistently heading now eastbound. So there's probably some discussion there. The suspect is probably on the cell phone, and whatever type of problem is going on, you know, maybe talking to some relatives or something about, you know, hey, you might as well pull over. They're not going to stop. End it. It's inevitable. You are going to go to jail. But I'm thinking that's about it. And as far as you're right about the traffic, as far as here, hold on a second.
No worries. I mean, you have to wonder too. Have they gotten ahead of this and started to clear people off of the freeway? I mean, it's just so.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Right.
Because you look at the other side of the freeway, going the opposite direction, and there are, you know, when we were looking earlier, there's even more, at least cars, maybe not traffic, but certainly this guy feels like the only one on this freeway. So are we about to see possibly a pit maneuver or something that? You know, CHP's been trying to clear the road.
It is. I mean, right there, this shot sort of says it all. It is almost like it's in a movie. Truly, how blank it is, because everything directly behind really is just CHP. I mean, 1, 2, 3, at least 5 cruisers we're counting there, Dave.
Yeah, and we were talking about earlier. You know, they're putting some type of plan together. So, as you can see, it looks like hopefully this will be coming to an end pretty soon. And once we see the black and white start creeping up on the suspect, maybe looking at a pit maneuver. You know, there's always that mileage thing. I think it's like 35 miles per hour on a pit, but that depends on each department. Yeah. You know, every department has to go through this, what they call this EVOC training, Emergency Vehicle Operations Center. It's a state mandated, and you have to do 40 hours worth of training, but each department excels on that. They continue at many, many more hours where they do practical application of pit maneuvers. So, but now that we're catching up with some traffic, that's not going to help.
No, it's not. It's like, you know, we can make the jokes that it was wide open, but it's the second there's any kind of a, you know, pressure put on this guy, we haven't seen how he's going to react to it. We don't know what he does when his back is against the wall and he's maybe having to navigate through either a standstill or even just other vehicles. That's kind of where the unpredictability comes to play, because we've seen this be so predictable for the entire time. Dave, this has to be tough for those, you know, officers to try and figure out what the next move is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got so many things that they can try, but it's all about citizen safety, officer safety. So they're going to just set something up. Hopefully this will be soon so we can end this. You know, like I said before, you know, any type of pursuit's a dangerous one, slow, fast, freeway streets, whatever. But just the way they work, I just can't see them holding up much longer.
Yeah, and then we were having a brief little issue there with SkyCal blacking out for just a second, but you're right, Dave. It just kind of you have to imagine it resets whatever the plan is, even if it's just a quick hiccup in terms of now we see more traffic, even if it's just a few cars coming onto the freeway. Now let's back off for just a second as we show you video from earlier on the right side of your screen when we were zooming out and just noticing just how significantly low the traffic was. Where really it's just the suspect's vehicle, and then at least 5 CHP cruisers directly behind, where you just sort of kind of open up everything,
road.
and it's just the suspect with CHP, and we really don't see that. I mean, it's 99% of the time we're breaking in, and it's weaving in and out of traffic. Though you also have to wonder. I know, Dave, you brought it up earlier about you could go as far as Redlands if you wanted to. I mean, that's just because of the nature of traffic in our highways here in Southern California. But when you pair the lack of traffic with the length this pursuit has already gone, on top of the non-erratic behavior we've seen from this driver, it almost seems like this might be a test of just patience, really, because at this point, the only thing in between is gas for this vehicle.
And there might also be some communications going on between the officer CHP and the RO or some type of family member. They may be working with them in that aspect also. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say that, we don't know why this suspect's around, what the desperation is to just keep going. It may be, because it's a family day, they may have had some problems and something didn't go right. So is it a family just an extension from a family dispute? Is it something worse? We don't know. Is this what they used to say, a two-striker looking at significant jail time, where they're just extending their freedom? It's a lot of things, but like we say, we still have to use extreme caution on this type of suspect.
Such a good point, though. We know the holidays bring up a lot of, emotions for people, and sometimes it's surprising to see a trigger point of what it can bring people to do. But as we, still follow this, for those that are just now joining us, I mean, we've been following this now for about 40 minutes. Started in Thousand Oaks, Ventura County Sheriff handing it off here to CHP as we see another CHP officer get right behind him there as he gets on the freeway. This is a new one. Dave was telling us about it earlier. They do those kind of handoffs as they go down the agencies. And that one specifically, Dave, looks to be going pretty quick.
Yeah, just perfect timing on that. Like I said, a lot of communication going on with them. So that was a perfect example, a beautiful example of a handoff. So now these people are going to go ahead and take over and see how long they're going to stay behind them.
And I was going to ask in terms of, Dave, because you've brought this up before, and we've asked it when it comes to sort of resetting a pursuit a little bit when it comes to that plan, right? Where, okay, maybe we back off and surveil a bit, maybe give them that false sense of security, and then they take an opportunity to jump off of an exit. We already know where they're going, and that makes it easier to sort of wrap this thing up. But does time affect that plan at all, or is everything so tight-lipped or tightly rung that they're committing to this just up-close pursuit? We're going to ride this out as long as it goes. Is there any flexibility, I should say, when it comes to perhaps adjusting on the fly?
Well, that they're going to have max deployment on these holidays. So like which we could see here, we had so many black and whites behind us, and as we're going down the freeway, we just see one station relieving another station on the pursuit. So I'm not really sure. I mean, this quite frankly, as we all know, it's kind of unusual for CHP to be following for such a long time. But then again, they may be looking at the consequences. If we go after them, maybe they'll speed up. That'll endanger the citizens even more. If we stay behind them and hopefully somebody's talking to them, might, just calm them down or calm that suspect down where they just want to give up, which is doesn't look like it's working.
Well, Dave and we just got word we've got about 5 minutes of fuel left for us to be able to stay over this. Our own chopper running out of gas. Like you might imagine, this car's got to be running out of gas eventually at some point. But, you know, with all of the expertise and the knowledge that you have right now, Dave, for as long as we can stay on this while we have the gas, talk to us about what's happening behind the scenes, because you have that intimate knowledge of knowing, you know, what questions are being asked, how they're working to decide what their next move is going to be. I mean, bring us into that world right now as we see this drag on to at least 45, 50 minutes.
I'm going to need you to hold on a sec. I'm going to try to make a couple of calls.
Perfect.
I'll be right back with you.
Okay, no worries.
Perfect timing considering everything. Dave, thank you. We'll check back in with you whenever you get the chance. But, you know, as we wind down with this, because SkyCal is going to have to refuel, and there are scenarios where SkyCal goes and refuels and comes back, and then a pursuit is still going. Though, you know, we've also seen situations where we have to go refuel, and then a pursuit sort of wraps up, and then we catch you up on the back end as to what happened. But obviously, we're going to maintain our eye over this and keep an eye on the scanners and calling CHP and everything else to keep an eye on whatever happens, whether or not we're going to be over it or not within the next few minutes. But I mean, what started off as a suspect wanted for evading officers going from Thousand Oaks all the way here to the East San Gabriel Valley. I mean, it speaks to just the length it's gone. The consistency is a word we've used a lot because this site that you're seeing is what it's basically been for 45 minutes.
If you're just now joining us, don't worry, you didn't miss much. This is exactly what we've been watching and seeing for the last 45, 50 minutes. Again, we are running out of gas here with SkyCal, but we're going to stay over it as long as we can. It almost appears he's passing. This is the most interesting it's gotten. Are they about to do a pit maneuver? I can't imagine them doing that with so many cars close by, but it is interesting to see that, you know, one CHP on the left side there, one behind him. It kind of feels like this is almost reaching a boiling point.
And almost, because this is the most different visual we've had in this 40 minutes. I almost wonder if that's them trying to sort of goad and push them over into an exit lane to push this off the freeway finally, because being parallel like this is the first time we've noticed it. But now, you know, assuming that miles per hour tracker is right, that's when we've climbed close to 90 miles an hour, and you kind of feel the tension rise just a little bit. But still, keep
though, that's an interesting angle right there. We have not seen them maintain that kind of like boxed-in view. The unfortunate part here, Gio, is that for the first time we're actually kind of seeing cars around, you know, on other lanes of traffic, which really hasn't been the case for the last 20 minutes or so. Pretty wide open now, but you got to wonder, you know, what is CHP trying to do to get this to come to a safe end while protecting everybody involved, including the people just going on their Easter Sunday drive.
Yeah, we're being told right now SkyCal's got about less than a minute left of fuel, so we're going to pull away, give them an opportunity to reset, and we'll continue to focus on this pursuit, whether or not we're overhead with SkyCal. We want to let viewers on KCal know that we'll send you back to regular programming, but we'll continue with this and other news as well on CBS Channel 2.
UCLA is back on top of the women's basketball world.
Well, in other headlines here at 6:30, the Bruins Championship, UCLA women's basketball with a masterclass in March Madness. There was never a doubt as the Lady Bruins led wire to wire in their game against South Carolina.
It was an absolute masterclass, the perfect way to explain it against one of the best women's basketball programs in the entire country. Our Chris Hayrie has all of those highlights. And Chris, as we know, if you were watching the game, a lot of highlights from UCLA's side.
Tons of highlights, guys. The Bruins dominated this